this season is so great. I mean, the tightness of this ensemble and, Quinta Brunson's genius. It's just the show just keeps getting better and better, and you get to do some really um awesome stuff this year. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Um, I
Thanks.
guess,
Yeah, thanks for having me.
of course. Um, I this sounds like a joke, but I genuinely want to know, what do you think it would take for Jacob to say something remotely nice about Morton?
A veritable miracle.
Lot of alcohol, maybe, or who
Yeah,
knows?
I just pitched to them. I was like, I think we should at least throw in a joke about how Jacob spends the first 20 minutes of his weekly or perhaps bi-weekly therapy just unloading about Morton. Like he's got to clear that before he can get to the real stuff. Not that that's not real stuff, but gosh, I don't know. I feel like that is such a goofy pleasure, that sort of like unjustified rage. Um and
Yeah.
so fun to play as an actor, but we'll see. If we know anything about Quinta Brunson, she will flip it on its head at some point.
Yeah, I imagine maybe Jacob's worst nightmare is that they just like get physically trapped in a really enclosed space. And when they get out, maybe they don't, get over their differences, but I feel like that would be a great 22 minutes if it was just that.
I think
Um,
you're onto something. I think that is what it would take. It would truly take Morton saving Jacob's life.
there, we answered our own question. The mystery is solved. Um, I love how much Jacob is still so, I almost did not say in love, but like the amount of like love and maybe one-sided of a verbal bromance with Gregory. If I can read my own handwriting, it says like, what has never been broken, this friendship. Um, with Janine and Gregory going, a lot more public this season. I guess I wondered if Jacob was sort of missing anything a little bit. I almost compared it in my head when I was rewatching it. I was like, is he sort of the Joey on Friends who knows about Monica and Chandler sort of thing? But I guess I wanted to know if he was like sort of missing anything there.
Look, I think he feels very, just in the same way that I feel like Jacob probably thinks that the whole documentary that's being made is about him or that he's the star of it. I think
Right.
that he is an equal player in that relationship. Or
Yeah.
I think, yeah, he cares about them so much. We set that up from the beginning. The end of the second season, we really got to explore via these kind of longer form scenes between Jacob and Gregory that new budding
Mm-mm.
friendship, and that has only really snowballed. And so I think he's just so happy that when he calls one of them to hang out, he knows that the other one is going to be there
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I don't know. You have such a genuine heart on your sleeve kind of quality to him, especially with friendships. Like there's a loyalty that I really love with Jacob, especially this season. Like I don't know, I rewatched the episode where I think that you FaceTime Gregory and and Quint is like, can you see me? Can you see me? It's just like really sweet, and just even her being like, oh my god, it's Jacob. It's like this really adorable dynamic. But I love how loyal Jacob is to his friends. I think that's really great.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been a piece of that character from the jump. She's always described him to me as, the best friend that you never had or the sibling that you don't want. His kind of like social puppy dog, naive enthusiasm it manifests in love and like care
mhm.
for people. It's such a fun thing as an actor to play. I feel like I've said before, like I typically get cast as these kind of like brooding, tragic characters. And so
Mhm.
to be able to just like kind of turn the optimism and um uh the anxious enthusiasm like through the roof is just it's such a fun thing to play. And so yeah,
Yeah.
Quinta did me a big favor by kind of making all of his obstacles to something positive and
Mhm.
yeah, just really baking that into the character.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah. I think when Abbott first started, I think one of the last things that I saw you in was Minion. And it was really sort of, it was kind of cool being, I just have this like image of you with like a small drink at a bar. And then it was so cool to just see you from the jump of the show being like complete opposite of that, small part that you had in that, which is cool. Um, I love that we get to see so much of Jacob in the classroom this season. When I went back and started rewatching episodes, even just like small things about talking about like the lesson plan or interacting with some of the students, I thought was really, really special. And the plot line with RJ really, I mean, I think reminds us of how teachers don't just exist in that classroom that you see every day. They really go above and beyond, and they I don't know, they plant a voice in your head that we sort of carry with us. I'm romanticizing here. But I guess I just wanted to know what kind of excited you about like kind of really exploring his attitude as an educator this season.
yeah, I thought it was just such a great idea. I knew kind of intrinsically that like it could only result in Jacob winning, which we don't get to see very
Mm-hmm.
much. For as much as we've kind of um planted seeds throughout the first few seasons that he's going to maybe overextend himself and fall on his face. This felt like a really tangible get, like something that could be accomplished. And it felt like we got to take what was once a joke and sort of like find the soft underbelly of it, which is like he really does care and it really is important to him. And we're going to make him fail in other ways, and it's not going to not be funny. But it was just so fun to attach myself to that, to like who he is as an educator.
Yeah.
Um, and and I feel like I rarely get to be a part of the probably because I'm always jumping in a garbage can or slamming a door or something. Like I
Yes.
rarely get to be a part of the pathos of the show, like
Mm-hmm.
some of the more heartfelt moments. And I got to do that this year, which was a nice change. And
Yeah.
um it really from the first episode that we read when we started to like instill this storyline, it reminded me of like Dead Poet Society and
Mm-hmm.
sort of like it had a real romanticism about it. And I thought that was really in line with the character. And I'm lucky in that like the students that Jacob teaches are a bit older, and so we have just an embarrassment of really gifted young actors.
Yeah.
And so uh yeah, I feel like I've lucked out in that sense just because Janine and Barbara, their kids are they're so much
The
younger
we.
than the other
Your
teachers.
your face sort of lights up talking about like lending yourself to the pathos of the show. I mean, you have a line I think in the it's in like the last 5 minutes of the finale of this season where you say, "I don't think we do enough to prepare them." I don't know, there's something beautifully wistful about that. And I don't know how I don't have the passion to be an educator. I think the best teachers are the ones that have a real passion to make a difference. And I think that just that one line really encapsulates how much Jacob cares. And I had forgotten that you said that. I got a little emotional rewatching that scene. So I thought that was really lovely.
Yeah, it
And
was an
really,
emotional day. We were
yeah.
in Philly, we were shooting the finale in Philly in this kind of fast and furious way that we do most of the show, but
Hmm.
even more so because we only had a few days. And we had shot in Philly before, but I was not a part of those scenes. And so this was my first time being in Philly in a very long time, in this place that we've been talking about for 4 years, dreaming about, really making kind of a love letter to. And it was
Hmm.
the last day of filming, and it was the same day that we shot that scene where we're all doing a play impersonating each other.
Yeah.
And it was really intense. The room was filled with a lot of people that
Yeah.
we have been with from the very first day of shooting this show. And I was just like, I am the luckiest boy in Puppet Land. It was such an intense day. It was a beautiful day, and yeah, I just feel very lucky. Even still, I knew in the beginning that, I would really come to love the people that I was working
Yeah.
with. Didn't expect it to happen so soon and for it to be this intense. We're away from each other for half the year because
Mhm.
it only takes about 6 months to shoot the show. And um yeah, they feel like my family at this point. They are the
Mm.
creative ensemble that I want to be with and make with. We all um, kind of speak the same language now, and
Yeah.
and I'm genuinely impressed and inspired by who they are as artists and as people. And so, yeah, it was such a good day that day.
That day, I mean, you say, that room was filled. That's a very robust room. Like there were so many people in that space, and the sort of I can imagine, um, sort of on dual levels, the audience of the kids watching the adults play around and be so silly, that has to lend itself to just like the energy of the room, because it's you do an incredibly good Sheryl Lee Ralph impression. I will say there has to be a what is I wanted to kind of ask, what is the gateway to doing a Sheryl Lee Ralph impression, or a Barbara impression, I
Um,
should say.
It's very technical. I would say it's very technical, and it's really just like, when Quinta told me about this storyline, I was like, I thought it was such a good idea,
Yeah.
and I was just secretly inner monologue like, please don't let me get Barbara, please don't let me get Barbara, please don't let me get Barbara. And of course, that's what happened. She's such a once again, like as a human being and as an actor, she is an
Hmm.
incredibly generous person. She gives and doesn't expect anything back. And I think that manifests in the way that she speaks and the way that
Yeah.
she moves. And so um I hope I did well by her. And yeah, what you said about like, you know, the room being filled with people who are sort of like feeding off of each other. I find, their example to be way more profound than our example toward the kids. I mean, the kids, they have this proximity to play and to
Oh
make
yeah.
believe and fun that, you know, as you get older, you fall further and further
Yeah.
from. Not me. I've chosen a profession where I get to, kind of disabuse myself of all that adult shit. And I love that. But yeah, working on the show, I mean, people have asked like, is it is it stressful or exhausting being surrounded by all of those kids trying to wrangle all of that energy? But it's not.
Mm.
It's quite the opposite. It feeds you because when we tell, one of our young actors to pretend that their chicken nuggets are frozen, it's instantaneous because
Yeah.
that's is for a kid.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's contagious.
Well, I mean, something that I have always loved about, I think it was in like some class I took in college. I think it was probably like a voice and speech class. They were like, the older you get, the more self-conscious you get. And because people like sort of put on you this sort of embarrassment, and you sort of like lose the innocence of being a kid, where kids don't bullshit. They don't have that sort of superimposed filter. So I imagine being around that much youthful energy has to be really infectious and really fun. So I would never assume that it would be exhausting. um, I want to ask about Caleb. I guess I wanted to ask plainly first if Jacob had ever considered himself fearless, because I don't know, there's something about whenever you hear your brother calling you that, there's something that changes in your face. It's not a line that you say, something changes in your face, and it's really um unexpected. I feel like if my brother would say something like that, it would be very moving. So I guess I wanted to know, um, when he arrives, he really knocks Jacob off kilter. And I guess I wanted to know what it was sort of like to tap into that energy and maybe how you kind of felt in that moment. Because I really love that part of the season.
Thank you.
Hmm.
It was quite easy, we had
Mm,
set up these crumbs from the
yeah.
get-go. And, I had sort of given to myself what it was that made Jacob leave and what made him latch on to the people that he works with in the way that he
Hmm.
has. Um, and Quinta has a knack for finding actors who so kind of seamlessly fit into the Abbott world, not just characters, but people
Yeah.
who understand the language of our show and who are, not necessarily household names yet, but they are brilliant. And
Hmm.
it was so fun to play off of Tyler, who played my brother.
Hmm.
Um, I thought he really embraced the kind of anything can happen and collaborative spirit of our set so well. And yeah, I think just because we had sort of alluded to it before, it just kind of poured out of me. It was it was really fun, because we are all obviously, have been given the authority to be these characters and to sort of fill in their backstory and decide what it is uh, that made them the way that they are.
Hmm.
But, any time where we get to introduce people's family, we get to just peel back a layer of that onion and we get to be like,
Yeah.
this is, here's the receipts.
Yeah. It's like,
And it
oh, that makes sense because of this. Yes.
totally,
Yeah.
and it also just like twists them and contorts them into in funny ways. I think
Hmm.
anytime we leave the school and anytime we meet somebody's family member, we just get to paint with different colors. We get to
Hmm.
reveal who these people are more and more. And if the show is going to remain um, fresh, that's what you have to do. I think it's also our duty as a mockumentary to try and dupe people into believing that it's real.
Yeah.
And if you have two-dimensional characters or people who sort of make the same joke over and over again, I think you sort of lose the trust of your
Mm.
audience. And so it's been a real priority of Quinta and our writers to uh, continue to reveal who these people are and sort of show our audience why they're as messed up as they are.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Mm.
that was a real joy. And uh, it's a veritable miracle when you get to make some sort of arc in 22 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought we did a great job of that. And um yeah, I hope we get to deepen and explore, what else is there in season 5.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see now that these two men had a sort of moment of clarity between them where they kind of go from there. I mean, that's sort of the beauty of that arc hitting a very satisfying place. So yeah, I would love to see those those two again. That'd be really fun. Um, Before I ask you a really silly question to let you go, I have to say the moment when Zach and Mateo Lane pop up in a karaoke bar. Again, I keep saying rewatching it, but it's like when I went back and I was like, that is the most one of the most honest things that I saw the whole season. Where you're just like, shit, my ex is here. Um, and I don't know the tension that is there when Zach is telling Jacob about how good his life is going, and the thing that is really key there is Jacob feels very happy for him. Like I know that Jacob would want to feel that for him. And I feel like on another show, Jacob might just be angry or bitter, but you shade him with such a beautiful complexity there that I thought was really lovely when I saw it again. Um, so my really silly, stupid question is, what's a go-to karaoke song for you?
Thank you for saying all that, Joey.
Sure, sorry, I'm just asking you a really dumb question after I go, whoa, whoa.
That episode was such a joy. I again, anytime we get to leave the school, it feels
Hmm.
like bonus time. It's like seeing your teachers outside of the place where you know them. It feels like
Yeah.
anything can happen. And um, yeah, the stakes of what's going on in Jacob's life, and again, the obstacles to that were just so strong. It just kind of took care of itself. I thought it was a
Hmm.
beautiful written episode. Um, Go-to karaoke song, probably Criminal by Fiona Apple, just because I like to torture
Oh,
the people around me.
that I think that would be great. If that can we please have Quinto write that into? Oh my God. Um, yeah, the I think I would love for someone, maybe Hulu can string the episodes together of every time the teachers leave the school because it's sort of like the dynamics are still there, they remain intact, but it's like just turned up just a little bit more because they're not in a place where they work. So it's that is probably my favorite episode where they go outside the school of the whole series so far, just because a lot of alcohol, a lot of emotions, a lot of this, a lot of that, but it still remains very true to the core of who the people are. Um,
I feel like the pinnacle of that will be the crossover, the episode that we did of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which
mhm.
airs sometime this summer, where yeah, it really doesn't get much more different
Oh,
than that. And so I hope people will watch it. It was a
yeah.
blast.
Okay. Well, thank you for being so generous with me.
Back at you.
I just think the show is so it's just so great. That's I mean, just say it quite simply. So thank you so much for your time rooting for the show like always, and just have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Joey. You
Yeah.
too.